And there we are. We are live yet again. This is live stream number million for me, I think. And maybe one of the first ones for my friend here next to me. And but this is one of my good friends, Brian. I'll talk about Brian in a second. We're just going live, leading up to our ConteXtus Online Leadership Conference next weekend, which is March 23rd, 24th, and 25th, because I want to introduce you guys out there in the internet ether to some of my good friends that I've invited to be part of this conference. So we went live a couple days ago with a good friend of the ministry. Well, a good friend of me. He's not a good friend of the ministry because the ministry is a vague, ethereal organization. But Murray is my friend. Brian is my friend. And so I just wanted to introduce you out there to the people that have impacted me and have been helpful and that I just enjoy spending time with. And so here's my good friend Brian. But let me tell you about the ConteXtus Online Leadership Conference for just a second. So we are hosting a conference next weekend called ConteXtus, and ConteXtus is language that we've been using, some friends and I, in really when people. It was in response. It's often how it's funny how you define language sometimes in response to other language. And so people were talking a lot about having convergence meetings and a convergence of people. And what we noticed often when people would talk about convergence is it wasn't so much coming together and mutually expressing ourselves. It was oftentimes it was come together and express what I want you to express. And so we started thinking, what's a better way of talking about leaders walking together? And the language that we came up with, the Greek word actually is ConteXtus, meaning that we walk together in context, that what I do in the kingdom and what Brian does in the kingdom are mutually exclusive in the sense that one's a reflection of Brian's life and his call and his gift, and one's a reflection of my life and my call and my gift. But in the context of our relationship, we walk forward and our paths overlap, and oftentimes we get the opportunity to benefit the people in the bride of Christ in the kingdom of God. And we get people to welcome people into that journey. And so we walk in context, hence ConteXtus. We walk together, we hold each other, we uphold each other. So ConteXtus, leaders walking together and seeing the kingdom of God at work in the present age. So with ConteXtus, we have 8 different speakers, 8 different key presenters. Myself, you've already met Murray Dewick, and now you're meeting Brian Barnett, and we have 8 other ones. We've just been able to announce that we have Dr. Hank Visser. He's a physician with 40 years of experience. He's been working in the mental health field. He's been working in family practice. He's been working with leaders. He's been on the missions field, just all kinds of stuff. And Hank is going to be talking about mental health, anxiety, mental disorders, and how we're to see those things as leaders. Leaders struggle with mental health and also are called to help people who struggle with mental health. And so how do you navigate your own mental health and navigate the mental health of others? That can be a really challenging thing for leaders. So we've invited Hank to talk about that. So we have many different presenters, and including one mystery guest who is a very good mutual friend of Brian and I. And the mystery guest has been on the missions field the last 25 years and is just an amazing man of God. And we're not giving away his name, not because he's famous, but because he's in a place where if we were to give away his name, it would potentially present him with unwanted attention. So anyway, we've got some really good stuff lined up. And my good friend Brian Barnett next to me, he's over here. It's always opposite. He's over here. It feels like you're over here, but he's over here.
Yeah.
And he's at his office right now, actually. And Brian has been working family business that you are what's your technically CEO, CFO, president? Are you just God basically in the organization?
Pretty much.
Barnett Signs has been a mainstay in the Dallas-Fort Worth area for about 60 years. Is that what it is?
Yeah, 52.
52 years.
Yeah.
And just so you get an idea of what Barnett Signs is about, when you look at I remember driving through Dallas and Brian telling us about some of the skyscraper buildings they had installed the massive signs on. So we're not talking about like they made up a little sign that you can, a lawn sign that you can, might have started that way, but a little lawn sign you could put on your lawn saying vote for this person or whatever. We're talking about some massive industrial stuff, right? And even working with some churches in the organization, in the churches and organizations to do the signage for their buildings, that kind of stuff. So very high end things. And he's been working with a ministry called Kingdom at Work for how long, Brian?
I'd say at least 5 years, 5 or 6 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
Mentoring business leaders, facilitating conversations with business leaders about how do we at our work be people of the kingdom.
Yes.
And so Brian, you were just telling me about 3 of the keys that you guys emphasize in Kingdom at Work as you bring business leaders together. What are those? Just tell us, well, for one, tell us just a little about yourself beyond what I said, because you also have a wonderful family.
I do, man. God has blessed me. I have an amazing family, and amazing friends like you, Josh. But so I've been serving the Lord since I was very, very young. I would say the adolescent years is when my relationship with Him really started.
Wow.
And so
now, he might not look it, guys, but he's only a couple years older than me. Okay. I'm just giving him a hard time.
Poking me in the ribs there.
Yeah.
Well, I poked you in the ribs enough that I deserve it.
That's right. I got to get you back. The only thing I can do it on an international audience. So
exactly. Yeah. My wife, Julie, we've been married for going on 27 years. I have 3 young adult children now, because they're 19 all the way up to 23, and a daughter and two sons, and they love the Lord, and have been blessed to. This is a family business. So my grandfather started this company, and he also had a deep walk with the Lord. And my father as well. So
I've met your father. He definitely has a deep walk with the Lord. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And he's someone that we would eventually invite into some of these conversations, because some of the things he's talked about with me about, even just mentioning how many organizations and churches, when a gift is sown to them, don't look at the gift as the potential to be another gift, is like, you're gifted to be a gift. You're blessed to be a blessing.
Exactly.
And it's like, you just don't even, when it was just transformational, just having him say that, I was like, wow, I didn't even think about that. So anyway,
absolutely.
Just long line of very, very significant godly leaders.
No doubt. So for me, it's been like, Brian, don't screw it up. You know what I mean?
Well, good job so far.
Yeah, and I tried a few times. Trust me.
Yeah. Well, you gotta see, you gotta test your limit.
There you go. But so Kingdom at Work is a movement. Growing up here and having a grandfather and a father who wanted to serve the Lord, and especially wanted to serve the Lord in business. What does that look like? And how does the kingdom play out where we're at Monday through Friday, or and so we've always sought to do that. But then I became good friends with the leader who started the movement called Kingdom at Work, and we have 3 things that we help other leaders, senior leaders of organizations. So it's not just limited to business. But the first one is ask the Lord to lead you. We have to be led. The famous scripture with Zechariah and Zerubbabel, which is not by might and not by power, but by the Spirit. So we ask the Spirit of God to lead us, and
it's easy to just skip right over that.
Totally. Totally.
Jesus says, "You have not because you ask not."
Yeah.
And it's so easy to not ask. It's like, it's so simple yet so profound.
It is. And then how practically does that work out? That's what's difficult, I think, for a lot of people to get a hold of, because right here on the premises, we've got fabricators who are building and creating signage and things. We've got technicians who repair lighting systems. We have other technicians who are digging piers and foundations and pouring concrete. And then I've got people here on the team who are project managers. How does, and the beauty of all this is they're not all Christians. And I don't want them to be all Christians, because the kingdom is like yeast. We want to leaven. So we want to affect the culture and the people around us. So how does that play out? And then number 2 is build an aligned leadership team.
Right.
So ask the Lord to lead you, build an aligned leadership team. So you realize that what God has called me to do, I'm not going to do by myself. I have to do with other people. The only way that I'm going to fulfill the plans, the assignments that God has for me. And you alluded to this when you were introducing the conference. What's the goal, Josh, that you have for me that I can access, that I need to do my assignment? And then what is the goal I have that you need, that you can do yours,
Yeah,
and,
that's right.
And so
we've had you and I had many long conversations driving in your truck, just dreaming and sharing about what we do in the kingdom and what we're passionate about. And I mean, I've been very impacted by some of the stuff that you've shared, and just richly enjoy sitting and chatting with you about these things, right? Because like you're saying, we had one conversation this Sunday morning. I remember I'd mentioned it before we went live, where you shared a couple things about identifying areas in the 6 P's, right, in an organization, which I don't want to give them away, right? Because you have to come to the conference to hear that stuff.
That's
right.
But
the 6 P's in your organization, and I came right back to my office after that, after flying and everything, right? Because you're a little ways away from me,
right?
And it's still here on my whiteboard.
Awesome.
Right? I have all 6 of them out. What were areas of weakness? What were areas of strength? What do we need to focus on? I found it just putting the framework out of that was like, oh, that was so helpful, right? What you have helped me to align even more with the godly purpose in my life. And so anyway, I was like, man, we need more of Brian in our life.
So. We need more of Jesus. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. But and the beauty of that, and by the way, I've added a P, so there's actually 7 now.
Oh, there's 7.
There's 7 P's. Yeah.
All right.
So we'll unveil the 7th P.
Yeah. There you go. The 7th P. Yeah. Register for the event if you want the 7th P. If you want the 6th. Even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's about fruitfulness. Because you go back to John 15 and what the Father wants for us. He wants to see us be fruitful in our families. It's important to have an aligned leadership team in your family. In the foundational place. Structure.
Yeah.
And then
that's
the
an
third
excellent point.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. That
might be the hardest one, right? Walking together, husband, wife, being on the same. I know many people struggle with that, being on the same page, and figuring out how are we going to lead this family, and how are we going to. And you got all kinds of, you get weird ideas about gender and who's got the authority and who doesn't, and who has a final say and who doesn't, and you just got all this weird cultural stuff going on.
No doubt.
That introduces even more problems about how do we walk in a way that we're aligned, that this is the kind of family we are and this is where we're going. That's an excellent point. That's something that Aaron and I talk about quite often, actually.
Well, think about your kids. If the mother and the father isn't aligned in, Jesus said no one can serve 2 masters. So if you've got a mother and a dad, but this works in business, it works in church, it works in other structures too. That's why having an aligned leadership team is so important for fruitfulness and to allow things to flourish.
And you can't fire your kids, so you better work on it, right?
That doesn't work well.
No, it doesn't. That's right. Yes, yeah. You end up firing yourself. So
right. And then here's the third thing. So the third thing is adopting a relational style of leadership.
Right.
Yeah, and committing to that. And
that's hard for people to do. I have to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
I have to be transparent.
Right.
I have to be open. I have to admit my weaknesses. I have to know my weaknesses.
Yep.
Man, that's a journey right there.
It is, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
It's
And
tough,
so
you know. we make
go ahead.
well, I was just gonna say we end up making a lot of other things the priority,
Right.
and God
Right.
really wants us to be effective at leading the people closest to us that we're in relationship with constantly.
Right.
You know, whether it's in the sphere of business or if it's in church or it's in wherever, you know, we need to care for those closest to us
Yeah.
above everything else. And love the Lord, love your neighbors yourself, you know.
Yeah. That's right.
So
Yeah.
good stuff.
That is really good stuff. That's just a small window into some of the stuff that Brian will be presenting at the ConteXtus Leadership Conference. And so you can register. I put the link in the chat. You can register there. It's great. I see Patty on. I see Sue on. Great to see you guys. And good to connect with you guys. And so the Leadership Conference, March 23rd to the 25th, and it's that's Thursday night, Friday night, and then most of the day Saturday. 8 different presenters. We will be finishing up with a panel discussion with all presenters that are available to continue to talk about these things that impact us. And if you're an aspiring leader wondering where do I fit in all of this, and you're going, I don't even know if I'm a leader at all, but I'm passionate about these things, then it's for you. If you are, you've heard as Brian's been talking, if you're the CEO or the god of the organization, as Brian called himself.
Oh, whatever.
if you're running an organization that's a multi-million-dollar organization, you're still going to find deep principles that'll be very helpful. So the conference is running the gamut in that sense, helping people develop as godly leaders and develop godly leaders. So we'll even have one session from my friend Steve, I've told you much about, is going to be one of the, he's going to handle one of the sessions and about growing godly leaders.
Oh, that's awesome.
Steve is one of my dear friends. So we've got lots of really good content coming. And there'll be practical stuff. There'll be theory stuff. There'll be Q&A stuff. So register for the event. And with all the stuff that we do, if you're in a difficult financial spot, just let us know. We're totally happy to work with you. And just reach out to us and say, hey, I'd love to attend, but I'm having a hard time affording that. And because we understand how that happens with people. So just let us know too. Don't let the cost of the registration be a barrier to your attendance. And so please just reach out to us and let us know. So take a look at it. Links in the chat there. And take a look at you can Google, I know I've done this, Brian Barnett, Kingdom at Work, and you can see his profile on Kingdom at Work, and actually a video, very moving, impactful video about the dynamic at Barnett Signs and how they implement the kingdom one relationship at a time. That's what really stands out in the video is it's very, very much that Brian and the team have relationships with the employees and with the people across the organization. It's a beautiful thing. So looking forward to what Brian has to bring, looking forward to spending time with my friend, and thanks everybody for tuning in, and hope to see you there. So God bless.